Have you ever looked at a Celtic knot and wished that you could draw something like that? Or maybe you've done some exercises from a book, but you're not really sure where to go from here for your own designs? I'm going to show you in this video a foolproof way to draw a basic Celtic knot. Coming right up. Hi everyone, I'm Cari of AON Celtic Art. I'm a published author as well as a Celtic artist, teaching modern techniques and ancient designs. So today I'm going to show you how to draw a basic Celtic knot. There are two methods that I use for drawing Celtic art and knotwork. One is what I call the freehand method and the other is the grid style. When I first started drawing Celtic knots, I started with those how-to books, just like a bunch of you have, I'm sure. The problem I ran into was I could do the examples in the book, but then when I went to do my own unique designs, I wasn't able to. Like, the book didn't teach a method that was transitionable to something unique that I can make on my own. All I could keep doing is the same examples from the book, so that got really old really fast. So the method that I developed, I've been teaching off my website for about 25 years now. Today we'll do the basic version, and then in future videos I'll show you how to do more complex or fancy versions of the knots. So to get started today, first, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, that way you'll know when the new ones come out. After that, get yourself a pencil, eraser, and a sheet of this AON dot paper. I'll show you in the video briefly how to make it yourself in case you ever need to, but the easiest thing to do is just download it from my website. I have the link below. Just print off a couple copies and then we'll get started. So my technique of drawing Celtic knots uses a kind of grid paper made out of dots. So first you want to get a graph paper. So this is the kind of paper that has the horizontal and vertical lines. You can get it from art stores, drafting stores. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a series of dots across the whole page. So you see here on my example, I've got a big dot marked with a darker dot, and then a small dot, the lighter gray. And I just keep alternating those across the line everywhere that the lines intersect each other. And then you follow that again going down. So if you had a big dot before, now you want to use a little dot, always an alternating big dot, little dot pattern, going side to side as well as up and down. Again, you can download this for free off my website. I'll put the link below and you can just grab a copy there and print it out, and then we'll get started. So the first thing we're going to do is mark off the area that we'll be working in. I'll remove those grid lines from the background so you can see the knot a little more easily as we go. I'm going to make this first one 4 big dots by 4 big dots in size. So you see in the top corner, I've gone from 1 big dot across to a 4th big dot and then downwards the same way. You always want your corners to end on a big dot. That's key for this process to work. Next, find one of the little dots inside the square. You want to ignore any of the little dots that have been crossed off on that outside box that we drew and anything outside that box. So just pick one of the little gray ones inside and make what kind of looks like a tipped over tic-tac-toe board with 2 parallel lines tipped at 45 degrees from each other around that little dot. It doesn't matter which little dot you choose to start with, so I'm going to start with that kind of top one on the left-hand side. Once you've done that, add the same lines around all the other little dots inside the square. Again, you ignore the ones that are crossed off on that outside border and the ones outside the box, just the ones inside. Now we need to add the corners to our knot. So in the upper left-hand corner there, you see I've got 2 of those parallel lines on either side of that dark dot, and they're kind of pointing towards each other up into that corner. So think of that outside box as a kind of barrier that your knot lines are not going to pass. I'll drop in the corner here and you can see how it'll fit together. So you can see once they're connected, those lines go up into the corner, they bounce down and join that next set below that big dot there. Using the same method, join up the other 3 corners as well. To finish connecting all the rest of the lines, we want to add a little bend, like an elbow, at those remaining parts. So look at the top one there. You see we have 2 sets of lines. They're kind of pointing in towards each other. We know they can't go through that wall, so we just hook them up essentially. In the same way, add the elbows to the remaining sides. Once all the lines on your knot have been connected, it's time to do the weaving. So if you look at Celtic art, you'll notice in the knots that the strands seem to go over and under every other sort of line that it meets. And what this does is it creates a 3D effect, making it look like the knot lines are passing over and under each other, giving it a woven look. Like before, it doesn't matter where we start the weaving. So in this example, I'm going to start with that same little gray dot that we did the tic-tac-toe on. I'm going to erase some of those interior lines to make it look like that strand is passing over the one beneath it. Now I'm going to follow that same strand around. It's important to follow the same strand as you start weaving because it's easy to get lost in the design. And if you follow the same strand around, it's a lot easier to remember if you should be going over or under the next intersection. So I recommend when folks begin, just keep following that same strand around. There are some tricks you can do down the line, but for now, follow that same strand and it'll keep you from getting lost. So the red arrow shows you the direction that I'll be going. And we started with an over following this strand, which means the next intersection that we meet, we want the strand to pass under. So we erase those inside lines this time, going the other way, making it look like the strand is going under this next strand. And if it went under that last one, the next one has to be an over. So you're going over, then under, then over, and under. And this is what gives it that woven appearance. So keep following that strand around. We just did an over, so the next one's going to go under, then over, then under, and over. And with that last over, we've now finished that strand around. So we followed that whole ring around and we're back to where we began. But we still haven't finished those inside intersections. So we still need to weave those ones. So choose one of those intersections that hasn't been done yet. I'm going to do that topmost one. From the direction of the arrow, we see that it's just come from an under, which means this one has to be an over. And then the next is an under. The next two intersections were already done before. So we have an over and then an under, and you just continue on with an over and then an under. And that last under is our final one. The whole knot has been woven now. And ta-da! You have just made your first basic Celtic knot. And that's a basic Celtic knot. So I'll show you in future videos how to take what we learned here today and make more fancy versions of those knots. In the meantime, make sure you get some practice in. You can make those bounding boxes any dimension, okay? So they can be like 5 big dots by 3 big dots, 2 by 7, any combination that you want. So practice making a bunch of those. Just remember to always end on the big dot. So your corners should always be on a big dot, and then that way your pattern will work out. If you want to learn more about creating Celtic art, you can also buy my new book, Creating Celtic Knotwork by Dover Publications. And as well, anyone who wants to support me, I have a Patreon page. There's a bunch of different levels there. You can receive everything from signed book copies, book dedications, free high-res clip art, slideshows of works in progress. You get sneak previews of things. It's a good time, so come on by and sign up. And before you do that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you don't miss that next tutorial. Bye!